Thank you.
Okay,
okay, people. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you guys all, and welcome to our 9th week of our program. I'm just going to mute everybody so that we don't get disturbed when we start the meeting. And I'm expecting some visitors, and we will see right at the end of this if they will be joining us. Okay. Like I said, this is week 9, and this is at the time when we are testing an MVP, and so it's basically where the rubber meets the road. You guys asked for it. You wanted this program to be more hands-on. You've got it. Let's look at what we're going to be covering today. But just to recap in terms of where we are at the end of we are actually at the beginning of the validation stage. You'll remember that when we did problem solution fit, there was the validation of hypothesis, but now we are at the validation of the MVP now. So this is a different type of testing and validation. There are your 5 phases, phase 1 to phase 5. We've now entered phase 3, which is the validation of our MVP. You'll remember on problem solution fit, we said you got to be clear of who your target market is. We developed hypotheses about their underserved problems, get to know their problems and how they're dealing with the problems currently. And then we went into prototyping a solution, prototyping as a verb. And then in phase 2, this is the past 4 weeks that we've been busy building an MVP. The steps on problem to solve that target market, and to create a list of long-term goals for future versions and map out the user flows and prioritize the feature list and build, measure, and learn. This is the MVP that we've been working on over the past couple of weeks. But today, the exciting part now, we're now going to be validating our problem. Now, when we say validating, we basically mean it's validated learning, because remember the MVP, it's still an opportunity for us to learn more about this problem. We basically saying here, you keep the features to a minimum, which is the whole principle around the MVP, improve as you learn from customer interviews, validate qualitatively and verify quantitatively. These are the 2 terms that these are the 2 phrases that we're gonna dive deeper into today. And then we say, let's target the early adopters. And then from there, we iterate from low to high fidelity MVP. Whatever you've got now is what we call the low fidelity MVP. We're gonna be building on it for the next 8 weeks. And as new and new features are demanded or requested by customers. Let's look at our agenda for today. We're gonna start by outlining the objectives. What are the objectives of our MVP? And then we're gonna get deeper into how you validate qualitatively and also how you verify quantitatively. Okay, let's get to that part. What is our goal? Remember, there are risks as far as our MVP is concerned. We dealt with those risks. We're going to recap on them, but we want to know what are our highest risks. And these biggest risks, these are the risks that we want to mitigate against through this MVP. We don't want to go build a product and take it to the market only to realize that after having spent so much money and time, this MVP is still not satisfying the goals of our target market. Remember, the MVP risks that we spoke about is that whatever product that you have, it might fail to deliver on your unique value proposition promise. Remember, the MVP is the delivery mechanism of that promise. The other risk is that you may not have enough customers. Yes, you might have a great product, it might be solving the problem, but you may not have enough customers. Yes, some people are trying to target SOEs, but there's only a handful of them. Okay, and if you build your business around that, you better be able to know how many customers are out there. You might have a great product, but if you don't have enough customers, your business is not going to grow. The other part is the market risk. The price that you set, it might not get you to break into that market. So you've got to be sure that the price is right. So in the testing that we're going to be doing, these are the things that we'll be testing. We're going to be testing if the product is delivering on the UVP. We're going to be testing if the customers, we've got enough customers, and we're going to be testing if the price is right. Now let's get down to it. How do you validate qualitatively? In research, there's two types of research. There's qualitative research and there's quantitative research. They're both useful, but they serve different purposes. Sorry, I just need to admit some people. They serve different purposes. What we said last time, we said there are approaches to gaining customer insight. Okay, the first part is you validate qualitatively and verify quantitatively. The first part, which is the qualitative research, is that you are testing usability. Is your product usable? Okay, and you got to note the pains and gains. This is where you're going to have face time with your customer, face to face, and then you're going to be getting to know them better. And secondly, you need to verify quantitatively. Okay, so here you're going to be testing the customer conversion funnel, which is the acquisition, activation, retention, and revenue funnel. Okay, let's get down further into this. You're going to have two types of interviews. This one is a solution interview. This one basically, what it does is that when you get there, you've got to get attention of the customer. You've got to position your unique value proposition against the number one problem. So if you are not positioning your UVP against the customer's very number one problem, you're not going to get their attention. Secondly, you've got to demonstrate that your product, your your unique value proposition can generate the interest. You've got to be, once you've gotten the attention of the customer, you've got to maintain that customer, let the customer be interested as much as possible. You've got to create the desire by lowering the sign-up friction. You've got to get the customer to desire your product. And ultimately, you got to get them to take action, whether it's a verbal commitment or a commitment to at least try your product. But how is this different to pitching? Remember, we are still learning here. You got to be careful that whilst you're trying to get as much as possible, you're trying to get the customer to try your product, but at the same time, you want to get paid for it at the very least. So here you've got to be able to be careful and balance between the two, because the test that the price is right is when the customer pays you for it and comes back for more. Let's look at the interview script. So your interview script will sound like this, okay? So you set the scene, assuming that you've now gotten your sorry, let me kill, Olana, can you take off your video? Please take off your video.
I think Kolani says he can't hear us, so I don't think he can hear you.
All right. Okay, let me unmute him. Okay, I've unmuted everyone. All right, sorry. So you want to set the scene at the interview. and then you test the market segment. Are you sitting in front of the right person? You also want to contextualize the problem and say, go back to the number one problem. How can we contextualize it? And then the next, you want to demo the solution to test the UVP. You're saying, here's the product. This is how it works. Is it meeting the requirements of your number one problem? Then you're going to test the pricing. And then you're going to be saying, hey, this is the price that I'm gonna charge for this product. And then you again are trying to get the reaction of the customer on the other side. And then right at the end, you got to get the permission for a follow-up. And also, again, don't miss up on the opportunity to ask for a referral. And then, okay, sorry. All right, people. And then right at the end of the interview, you document and you analyze the results. Let's move on. Now, how do you verify quantitatively? Remember now, this is now the numbers game. I'm sure you've heard the quantitative metrics of your business, how your business is working. This is what we call the customer conversion funnel, okay? It's spelled AARRR, okay? First, it's acquisition. How do you get how do the users find you? How do you, activation, do users have the great first experience? Retention, do they come back? Revenue, do they pay you? And finally, do users tell others in terms of referral? Let's get deeper into these 5 metrics. This is the funnel. The first time, you're gonna get the customer in front of the customer. Which channel are you using? It's a channel that generates the most traffic. Now, when we say channel here, how do you reach out to your people? Do you reach out through maybe in conferences? I mean, Clive was telling us about the conference that he attended in agriculture. There's probably the place where you meet your people. Do you reach out to your people through your website? Do you reach out to your people through some form of advertising? What is the best conversion rate? Okay, and that channel must have the best conversion rate, and it must have the lowest customer acquisition cost. So get used to terms like CAC. CAC stands for customer acquisition cost. Number 2, activation. It's the customer's very, very first experience with your product. It's the aha moment. Get them to get it. Do they get it? This is where you basically get your customer to have your first experience. But that's not enough. You are here to sell a product, not just for them to have an experience. But what is important is that once you've had activation, the most important in the validation stage. Sorry guys, can you hear me well? Are there no, can you hear any sounds in the background? Okay.
No, we can hear you. Loud and clear.
No, we
Yeah,
hear you
but there's
clearly.
sound behind.
Okay, can I just attend to that? Sorry. Sorry about this. This is lockdown. The next stage is retention. Do your customers stay with you? The most important validation stage in the validation stage is churn. Churn is the rate at which you are losing customers. Churn must be less than the acquisition. So what it means is that if this is a revolving door, the people coming in, if they are more than the people going out, then you've got growth. If it's the other way around, then you're not growing. You must learn from your churn customers. By the way, people, when they leave you for a reason. So it's important that you get to understand from those people who leave you as opposed to those that stay with you. the Harvard Business Review, it says it takes 5 to 25%, it's 5 to 25% more expensive to acquire new customers than to sell to the existing one. So take care of your existing customers, because it's easier to sell to them, even if you bring a new product, than to your new people. Okay, let's get to the next metric, which is basically the revenue part. Here you get your users to finally pay for the product. The key metric here is called lifetime value, the customer lifetime value. And what it means basically, if you have a customer over its lifetime, what is the value of that customer to the business? We'll get to how you calculate LTV. Basically, you've got to cross and upsell your customers. You've got to get your customers to be buying from you most of the time. Okay, let me admit, okay, we've just been joined by one of the mentors. We'll get him to be introduced right at the end. Okay, and then, Patel, do you want to just take off your video? Can you take off your video? Okay. All right. The last is basically referral. The customer conversion funnel here, do the people like you enough for them to refer you to other customers? Here you ask for the referral. We say turn your customers into advocates. The best score here is NPS. You saw when I used it in that survey, which is called the Net Promoter Score. How likely are your customers to recommend your product? Okay, usually an NPS score of more than 40% is good enough. So if it's less than 40%, then it's not good enough. If less than 40% of your customers are likely to recommend you, then you have a problem. Okay, so, and then there's viral coefficient. This is how many customers are referring to you. A viral coefficient, if it's 1, it means every customer is going to refer someone to the next person. But if it's just half of your customers referring to people, the coefficient will be 0.5. All right. What is key at this early stages of the MVP? It's those 2 metrics. Okay. Now those two metrics, what they mean basically is that you got to get your customer to have the first experience. And then secondly, you got to be able to retain that customer. If in the next 4 weeks you are able to do that, we'll get to the revenue part. You want them to be excited as being part of you, and also you being able to retain them. Sorry. In the final analysis, we're saying what can be measured can be managed. What gets measured gets done. Great, let's get started. And where do we start? You got to build a very large database of early adopters. And some of you that I've been talking to from the mentoring side, I'm saying, if your database is less than 100, please build on it. Okay, start working on building that database. You need at least 100. I know some of you are selling to marketing to SOEs, then you're not going to get to 100. Make sure that your database is more than 100 so that you are there. Okay. Sorry. And then the next part, you got to polish and practice that interview script. It's got to be good. Okay. And then in the language of the rugby people, we say touch, pause, and engage. This is where the rubber meets the road. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the painful road to product market fit, and it starts here. Okay, I see we've just been joined by Mr. Teller. And we've just also been joined by, I don't know whether this is Mr. Mashava, who has joined us. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to, there isn't, I've invited Mr. Teller. Okay, can I just finish the recording? Stop the recording. Sorry, I'm not having a great day today. Magabong. Where do I stop the recording?
Go